So a set of 480 EKTs for the front. Decent wide tyre now. And then a set of these for the back. Vredestein 600s. So I think the set of these now and the painted rims, which is going to be a completely different looking tractor. John Deere tidy up update. Paul has been flat out there. He pretty much has all the panels, body panels painted for tractor now, roof and body panels. I think he wants to do the cab next and the rims and stickers on her then, and I think he's pretty much ready to go. He went and got second-hand tyres for he always had an odd set of tyres here on it, 2 different ones on the back and then real narrow ones on the front, so it just made it look terrible, always looked bad. So we went off here at the weekend and got a second-hand set of these. This week is starting off well. We have another cow with the same issue that we had last week. Same cow type and the exact same symptoms, so presumably it's ketosis with her as well. The second bull is lame up here because he was the only bull going around with the cows and the ground is so uneven. And there's only a handful of cows bulling now, but it's obviously enough for him to hurt himself. Now, it's the end pretty much of breeding anyway, or 2 weeks time would be the end anyway, but we're down to no bulls working up here now, so I'm going to bring one from the other farm, I think up to here, and leave one down there because there's really nothing happening down there. And I'm doing a grass walk now at the minute, and the fucking plate meter is not working. So the buttons on the front pad, it's an EC10, and the digital reset buttons aren't working. So now I'm going around eyeballing, which I don't like to do because I'm not good enough at it. So I have to eyeball it, walk into every paddock now and just guess what's on it, which I'm not good, like I said, not good at. And roughly come up with a plan for the week then. Grass Tech in County Cork, even though I didn't buy the plate meter there, are going to repair it, and they were very sound and very helpful on the phone. So I have to get the plate meter packed up today and post it to them, and they'll just fit a replacement screen, and not expensive, like €50 apparently for a brand new digital screen, and they'll recalibrate it and send it back to me, which is fantastic news. So we'll get over the walk today, eyeball the paddocks, come up with a rough plan for the week, allow a little bit more on the paddocks than what there is, or a little bit less on the paddocks than what there is, and we'll do a walk as soon as the plate meter is back. This afternoon then, have a meeting with the solicitor to sort out stuff for the planning application, which is the amount of paperwork for the planning application is ridiculous. Like everything now in this country, there's paperwork on top of paperwork on top of paperwork. Like being a criminal anytime you go apply for anything. And we get it done and then it'll be milking time. So today is not going to be as productive. Well, be productive in other ways, but not your definition of getting through a whole pile of work productive. So we'll get on with it here. Lads, look, there's a few ducks there coming. Look at the regrowth on this reseed. The cows have to go in here next. Huh? Just stand the bottle of water up in. The bottle of water is the right foot long, foot and a half. Fucking hell. There was 200 on this last week. Way over 100 a day growth on. Unreal stuff. We went out this, you see in the last video there, we were going with urea now that we're finished our 8612. So all this got just 20 units. 20 to 25 units urea, corrected urea. Look at that for a response. Conditions were perfect, bit of rain last week and the heat here today is unreal, but growth is not, well, I'm not overly accurate now because I'm guessing paddock covers, but we'll definitely have a surplus, I'd say, enough that we're going to finally be able to pull the nuts back here because we're still on 6 kilos here. We'll definitely be back to 4. And the other farm is done and we're back to 3 up there and probably 2 by midweek. The place is humming now. Hello everyone, I'm just up here at our test holes currently, which are left open there until we apply for planning permission for this house, but it gives me a perfect opportunity to show you exactly why this farm is so hard to manage, and the reason that is obviously is soil type. These test holes now give us a look at the soil profile. So we'll spend a few minutes now talking about the soil profile on the farm and what makes it so awkward to manage in both the spring, summer and autumn pretty much hard to manage all year round. So let's take a look at it. So here's a look at our soil profile. So we have the grass on top. The dark layer that you see there is the topsoil, and below that is an impenetrable layer of clay, rock solid clay. No stones, some cracks in it, but no real drainage. So we have about, that line there is the bottom of the topsoil. So that thickness there, I'd say is around 6 to 7 inches. And you'll see the line, you'll follow it all along there, the darker layer you're looking for. Right there, from there up is our topsoil, and that's what the plant uses to grow. That's where all the nutrients are, that's where all the water is stored, that's where all the oxygen is. Just in that little 6 to 7 inches of topsoil there. Underneath that then is this rock hard, as you can see, rock hard clay. No air spaces, no roots, no water, no nutrients. 7 inches away from the surface. That means then is that 7 inches of really good black healthy topsoil where all our roots are and all our bugs are and all our worms are is what we're farming in. When it rains we have no downward penetration of water because that clay layer is like a layer of concrete right underneath the topsoil. You'll have a few big cracks in it that form over the summertime as the ground dries out, and that will let some water down through it. But mainly you're looking for all your waters being carried in that 6 or 7 inches of topsoil, which means a wet week and that top layer of topsoil is saturated because there's nowhere for the water to go downwards. A dry time in the summer, 2 weeks dry weather and a lot of wind and a lot of sunshine. I'm being ate alive with horseflies here. A lot of wind and a lot of sunshine. You only have to dry out that top 6 or 7 inches of topsoil, and then you're in a drought and you've no moisture to get the nutrients out of it. You're looking at one extreme or the other a lot of the time. Takes nothing to wet it because you've so little topsoil, and it takes nothing to dry it out because you have so little topsoil. We end up mold ploughing or subsoiling does work well. Mold ploughing works well if you can do it when that bottom layer of clay is kind of tacky, because you'll form a perfect mold in that for the water to go down through and into and drain. But it'll only work if you have drains in the hollows of all the fields, because if not, as soon as you mold plough into a hollow, all the water just flows to the hollow and fills up from the hollow and then works its way back up along the field. So you can actually make fields worse if you don't have drains in the hollows of the fields. Now what we have here, in every dip in every field here has a drain with stone pretty much to the top, because you're not allowed to say that you have stone the whole way to the top. So pretty much to the top, that we can mold plough into or subsoil into. All our fields then have deep dikes around the headlands, which you can start your mold plough drain in and finish it in at the other side. Ploughing works really well here because you're able to bring so if you plough to, we'll say, 12 or 14 inches, you're doubling the depth of free drain soil pretty much from what you have there. Or even 10 inches, you're adding 3 inches extra. Over a field, that's an awful lot for water to sit in. And basically the new plough pan, we always have a plough pan here, because that's just naturally it. The water goes down through the topsoil and runs along the top of that clay layer. So that's why it's so easy to make it wet. So what we do then by ploughing is we go down 3 or 4 inches into that clay layer and we make the plough pan down a little bit lower, and it just allows you a little bit extra room. And ploughing works really well, really does dry out fields. Again, if you have stoned drains in the hollows of all the fields, because all the water runs off between the topsoil and that clay layer. That's where all our drainage is. None down, just run off the top. Surface water runoff is what it's actually called. This means then that when you test the water around here, nitrate losses to river are slim to none, because nitrate is lost from soil through downward movement of water. Leaching is what that's called, downward movement of water through the soil. Nitrogen is quite free in the soil, and it wants to move with the water down the way. It doesn't move as much through surface water runoff because it gets caught up in the roots and stuff. So nitrate, which is what they focus on in waterways for the nitrates irrigation, really isn't an issue on this soil type. What we do lose an awful lot of, and what our water does have a lot of in it, is phosphorus, because phosphorus is lost through surface water runoff. That water running, topsoil becoming saturated, hits the clay layer underneath and then runs to the nearest hollow or the nearest dike, brings all the phosphorus pretty much that's in that top layer soil with it, because it doesn't bind very well to soil particles and doesn't attach to the soil particles in the topsoil very well. It's not really held on very well. So if you have an awful lot of water running to drains and gripes, it brings the phosphorus with it. What we'll see here after a winter is that you'll go out, and because our soil ends up being waterlogged from 1st of November through till May pretty much, because you're waiting for that top layer of soil to dry out and stop raining and get that to dry out. So what ends up happening then is our farm looks very yellow at the start of the year, because you've had no oxygen in the roots in that topsoil because it's been saturated with water, and all the hollows in the fields will have grass. Jesus, it'll be that height up. Beside the hollow, this height, the hollows will be that height of grass, because all of our phosphorus has ran into those hollows and sat there all winter, and it has just, the grass grows in those hollows all year long. We find it very hard to build phosphorus indexes here. A lot of our fields will be index 2 will be the max, because you can spread it as much phosphorus as you like all summer. If you were to test the phosphorus levels at the end of the year, you'll have 3 and 4 indexes come back out in March or April, and they'll be back down to index 1 or 2 because you lose most of it. So phosphorus is a huge issue for us here. We are constantly spreading phosphorus in the form of 18612 or 101020 or 01020. We actually have a derogation on this farm here that allows us to spread an allowance above the national allowance for phosphorus to allow us to build our P index. Now look, probably not a fantastic idea. If our phosphorus end up in the river and the department is just going on our soil test results and says, oh, their indexes are low for P, we'll let them spread a bit more, that they haven't checked to see whether it gets into our water or anything. This is why my argument on the Agri Aware page was that there's blanket rules being used for all soil types across the country, and it's not working. A lot of P goes into the waterways on our farm and very little N, and farms on free drain soil almost no P ends up in the water, but the N goes to the water. So this is why a country-wide set of rules don't work. Everyone's soil is different. Forgot to mention the name of the soil here is called Macklemore. It's on the soil maps of Ireland. I'll put a link to that in this post. It's a fantastic tool that you can look up. You'll find the name of your soil type exactly on your farm. They're painted and colour coded all over the country, but you'll see ours starts at the sea, which is just 2 fields over there, runs in this way behind me to the hills about 10 or 15 miles, starts south of us in Wexford about 25 miles and runs just to the other side of that hill up there towards Arklow about another 10 or 15 miles. So it's a very unique soil type. I think it's built on top of limestone, but you're looking at that clay layer. I'll actually show you up here. So we've been a 10 or 11 foot deep test hole here, and that clay layer is never ending. The topsoil, you'll see it there, looks kind of sandy there, and the clay starts there and that runs forever. No stones in it whatsoever, as you see there. Not one big stone in it, just clay, rock solid, stuff you could make pottery out of. And that runs then indefinitely. I don't know, could be 100 foot of that before you hit bedrock here. And then I think it's limestone underneath that, but I don't know. No one has ever dug a hole deep enough around here. All I do know is that people who bore wells there take ages to get to bedrock. There's no bother boring a well down here. You'd have it bored in a few minutes because you're just going down through that stuff. That's why this farm, I don't just be whinging in the spring and the autumn. That's why this farm is such a nightmare to manage. Unless you get constant showers of rain a day or two a week, followed by good sunny fine weather like we're having now, this place will pump grass. We've grown 16 tonne here. The wrong year you'll grow 10 tonne because it's too wet in the spring, no oxygen in the roots, plants can't take up nutrients, and then if you get a dry summer you have no way of retaining the moisture in the topsoil, and then if you get a bad autumn it's back to wet again. So that's what we're dealing with here. Now for the test holes, I didn't show you there, but the top test hole closest to the road, we were lucky and found a vein of sand. So I've heard of pockets of sand around here in different places. Never thought we'd have it here, but we found it. So you have topsoil, about 12 inches of sand, and then clay. And our percolation is going to be put into that sand layer on top. Because obviously there's no percolation in that clay layer. But our treatment plant is going to be built in the topsoil and that 12 inches of sand underneath, and then they're going to build a raised bed on top of that, and we'll be fine. All the holes that were dug there in the sand layer pass the percolation test, so put the water in, disappears after so many minutes. So we got very lucky on that, or there would be no planning here for a house. These girlies are due a dose. We'll get them done this week. They've just started coughing, so that'll be long warm. Give them an overdose. They'll be finished on this field, I'd say, Wednesday or Thursday, I'd say. And we'll run them in then. The crush is just there, up here. We'll run them in and then we'll bring them down then to where myself and Sid have fenced the field fully. And they can live there for a while, until they break out, I suppose.
Cruising down the highway, windows down low. Sunset paints the sky in a fiery glow. Mountains rise up, touching clouds.